Hello, everyone. It's Lisa Turner here from Psychademy. We're a spiritual and consciousness awakening organization, and we specialize in training professional coaches and practitioners. So today I thought I'd just jump on here with a little live I've just come off a call with some of my amazing students and clients, and we're working on a beautiful group of people. And today we've been finding our soul name, or they've been finding their soul name. So we've been on this journey to find their soul name, which is also their soul's purpose. And if we think about this kind of being and doing and having, I'm getting ahead of myself, but no, I'll go there. Anyway, if you can see me, if you can hear me, let me know. And if you've got any questions, just let me know. Pop them in the little chitty chat box there. Hopefully I'll be able to see them. Sometimes I can't always see who it's from with this too clever by half technology. Who knows? Can you see me? Am I here? Do I exist? Am I real? Okay, so one of the things you might have heard me talking about recently is this idea that we are at our spiritual tipping point, that right now in the world there's all these really interesting things going on, these quite challenging times, and one of the things that it seems to be that spirituality is something that people are very interested in. And one of the questions that I often ask people is why do you want to awaken spiritually? What will your spirituality do for you? And I think there's like two levels. There's like the surface level, and then there's the deeper level. On a surface level, it's like, oh, I want to see auras, and I want to talk to the dead, and I want to, I don't know, talk to my guides and that kind of thing. And like sometimes that's quite it's very obvious, it's very out there, and it's a little bit I'm trying to avoid saying the word superficial, because it's like seeing auras. It's like, oh, I can see colors, and it's all very exciting, and it's like, yeah. But as one of my spiritual mentors used to say, she was a dog walker. So that was her job, as well as being a spiritual mentor. In fact, she would never call herself a spiritual mentor. She was just a dog walker. And she'd go, seeing auras and talking to the dead and, channeling energies and telekinesis and whatever. It's like, it's all very well, remote viewing. And it's all very well, but it doesn't walk any dogs, does it? Out body travel, dream, journeying in your dream, lucid dreaming. It's great, but doesn't get any dogs walked, does it? Doesn't butter any parsnips, I think is another expression. So why do we really want to be spiritual? Well, I think there's some deeper meanings and deeper purposes that are going on. And I think right now what we've got going on in the world, that there's a time when I think it's a real calling. Sometimes I think people want to be spiritual because it's like an escape from the horrors of the real world. And I think we need to start now flipping that. So actually it's about bringing us, not escaping from the real world, but bringing our spirituality into the real world, so that we are spiritual beings embodied in the world and making a difference. Because here's the thing, I've been talking about this spiritual tipping point, and with this model that I created, which predicted something like the pandemic, predicted a significant change in the way we live and work and connect and communicate and kind of engage with each other. And it's beyond, wearing masks and social distancing. So I predicted that something like the pandemic would happen over a decade ago. Because here's the thing, even though we have access to better food, more food than ever before, people are still starving. And even people who aren't starving, they have worse nutrition and more health issues as a result of the wrong food allergies and issues with food intolerances, which isn't quite the same as an allergy. But even though we have better food, we've got worse nutrition. Even though we have better medical care, allegedly, better healthcare system, better medicine, better science and research, we seem to be sicker than ever before. Even though we have more access to wealth and more affluence, when I look at my daughter and what she has now while she's at uni, compared to what I had when I was at uni, we have more affluence now. And yet there's more poverty, and there's more difference between the wealthy and the unwealthy, the haves and the have-nots. Even though we have more access to more information than ever before, I think the intelligent ones amongst you will agree, there's more stupidity than ever before, and more confusion and misinformation, and information is used to manipulate and control. And even though we allegedly live in a democracy, our leadership has never been more skewed, more what's the word I'm looking for? Our leadership has never been more corrupt. Do I want to say that? More, I don't know, just like I think the purpose of leaders and leadership is that, wouldn't it be great if we had awakened leaders who are working for the highest good of all, not kind of this kind of crony capitalism where we give jobs to our mates and things. And when I say we, I mean somebody else, because obviously I'm not a politician yet. So here's my question. Do you believe that the world will be a better place if our leaders were working for the highest good of all? Let me know what you think, because I think we're right at this spiritual tipping point. So one of the things that I've been working on and exploring is this idea of this model so I'll really briefly explain it. So beginning of last century, the 1900s, we had 2 world wars and a Great Recession. And then after that, people were starving. There was food rationing. They didn't have anywhere to live. And then it was demanded. And in the West, we got it. So there was social housing, there was council housing, there was the National Health Service and all those things. So this was the base chakra of society being activated. Then in the we had this, then what happened, it became quite restricted. So we had enough food and somewhere to live, but then it was a very rigid society, and you had to behave like this, or you just had to behave like this. These are the rules, and you follow the rules. And then what happened was people kind of just rebelled against that. And in the 60s, we had this sexual revolution and explosion of creativity, music, art, fashion, and people living in different ways. And of course it was the sexual revolution, and this is the sacral chakra of society being activated. So this is our sexuality, pleasure, creativity, flexibility, flow. It's all about groups. Then people they kind of started to feel like, hang on, I'm working really hard and I'm doing all the work, but I'm sharing it amongst everyone, and that doesn't seem right. Like I don't want to wait till I retire, and I want it now. And so there was this explosion. Then it moved into this place of individuality, greed, but not just greed, but just like people wanted things for themselves, and they didn't want to wait until they retired. They wanted it, and they wanted it now. This is the solar plexus of society being activated. So this is our individual identity, self-worth, and willpower. Then what happened was people got burnt, or they got burnt out. So they either lost all their money, or they were just like, I just can't keep going like this. And they said, there must be more to life than this. And I want to feel my emotions. I want to connect with people I want to love. And this then led us to the heart chakra of society being activated. Then what happened was we moved into the internet. Hi. So then everyone's talking, communicating, blogging, posting, podcasting, iPodding, YouTubing, and all of those things. And this is the throat chakra of society being activated. Everyone's talking, everyone's listening, everyone's sharing. Then what happened was everyone was communicating so much and expressing so much, and then you ended up with this bloated, overactive throat chakra. Everyone's talking, but they're talking a lot of nonsense, and they're talking a lot of untruths, and this led to a demand for truth. And that's where we are now, with the third eye of society opened. Now, with the third eye, the visionary center open. This is where people are calling for visionary leaders, people to be willing to be seen, to be heard, and to express and share the truth. The veil of illusion is being dropped. But what happens is every time a chakra opens, the one below becomes overexpressed. It becomes bloated. And so when we had the base chakra opened, so that became overexpressed with it being very rigid. Then we had the solar plexus opened, and then it became overexpressed because it's all about money and nothing about emotions. And it was the bloating of the one below that caused the one above to be pierced. Now, where we are right now, we're actually in an overexpressed, a bloated third eye, visionary. So when third eye is overexpressed, what happens is it's almost like everyone is so desperate to see the truth that they actually don't trust anything. So they start to see lies where there's truth, and truth where there's lies. So you get a lot of paranoia. And it's like, whereas before in the lower chakras, it's like everyone would just believe anything. Now no one believes anything. No one believes anything. So before anyone would believe anything. Now no one believes anything. So now it's quite hard to generate trust. But here's what's quite exciting is that the more authentic you are, the more real you are, the more you show where you're I was going to say, it's not that you're not perfect, because you are, but just like the more you show yourself as your truth, your authentic self. In fact, I was talking with one of my other groups, and I've been speaking about this thing right now. And it's like just showing up as unashamedly you, like with the throat chakra being bloated with a lot of like internet marketing stuff. There was all about, you got to do your little scripts, and you got to do your YouTube videos like this, and you got to market like this, and you got to show yourself like this. And particularly, I come from the spiritual community and the coaching community, and there was a lot about, well, if you want to be a successful coach, you got to do this, and you got to have you got to do it like this and show yourself like this. And now it's about just showing up. It's about just showing up, no filters. And I like no verbal filters. So you say whatever you like. In fact, I filtered myself there because only Facebook didn't filter me, because there's still a little bit of filtering going on, I guess. But my chair's buzzing. Oh, that's because my phone's ringing. I'm so genius, me. That's my phone ringing. I'll phone you back in a minute, Rachel. So what this means is this time of being authentically and unashamedly you is about knowing who you are and knowing what your soul's purpose is. Your soul, like, why are you here? What's it all about? So, because this is the spiritual tipping point, because where we are right now, we're about to pierce the visionary, the third eye is going to pierce right up to the crown chakra. And so here's an interesting fact for you. Physics fact. So I'm studying I'm converting my engineering degree into a physics degree so I can do a physics master's. And so I'm doing this course at the moment. And in physics, and one of the things I learned recently was that one of our nearest stars, Betelgeuse, what a great name for a star, Betelgeuse. Say it 3 times, you get haunted by someone. No, that's another, that's something else. So Betelgeuse, not spelt Beetlejuice, spelt with a G, not a J. Anyway, Betelgeuse could go supernova any minute now. Betelgeuse can go supernova any minute now. And what this means is, according to my science facts, when that happens, so basically going supernova is the star kind of explodes. So Betelgeuse is a star, and it could explode. And if that happens, when that happens, even though it's like a gazillion light years away, it's like a long way away. It's our closest star, but it's still like huge distance away. So what this means is, if it goes supernova, there will be no night on Earth. The entire Earth will be lit up for anything from 2 to 6 weeks. There'll be that much light, and it will just come blasting off Betelgeuse, and it will just shower the Earth with this light. Like, can you imagine that? Now, this is what I think might happen. Something like the spiritual consciousness equivalent of Betelgeuse exploding when the crown chakra is opened and activated, because what that means is there'll be unity. Now, being unity doesn't mean that you lose your sense of individuality. You know exactly who you are. You know exactly who everyone else is. We can see each other for who we really are, and there's this unified connection, and this experience of us each being this radiant being of light. Now, if you can relate to this, if this makes any sense to you, let me know what your thoughts are. And here's what I'd love to know. What's your reason for becoming spiritual? What's your reason for awakening to your next level? If you're watching this, you are already. I mean, we're all spiritual, right? It's just whether or not we embody it, whether or not we talk about it, whether or not we actually admit it to ourselves and go, oh, I was a psychic for years before I admitted it. And I had these 2 names and 2 jobs. So by day, I was Dr. Austin. senior research, it was my maiden name, Dr. Austin, senior lecturer in automotive engineering. And then by night, I was Mrs. Turner, psychic and shamanic healer. And of course, there was a little bit like, I felt a little bit, I nearly said bisexual then, bipolar, do I mean bisected? I felt a little bit split personality. That's what I'm trying to say. And it was when so at some point I eventually felt I was able to embody all of who I am. And this is my invitation to you, because I think spiritual awakening and this activating all of these power centers within ourselves, this is this place of spiritual awakening. But guys, what do you think? Let me know what you think. What's your reason for spiritual awakening? Is it for yourself? Is it so that you can feel a greater sense of peace in the world? Is it to so that you can speak to your past loved ones, and there's nothing wrong with that? Or is it because you know that there's this greater insight and information and powerhouse that's available to you that will enable you to become more of who you are, to live your purpose, to make a real difference? Because here's the thing I know. Every time I forget who I am and what I'm here for, which I'll share more in my next live, if you're interested. Because the reason I'll share it is so that you can get a sense of who you are. So, what's your reason for awakening? What is it that you hope to achieve? So let's create this as a collective experience in the post. Let's create it as a collective experience. It's not just you connecting with me. Let's connect with each other. So tag someone else in this video, anyone, doesn't matter. So anyone, and say, hey, what do you think? What's your reason for awakening? And let's create a collective experience, because that's what happens when the crown chakra activates. That's our spiritual tipping point. Huge love to you guys. I will talk to you next time. Might be tomorrow, might be next week. Who knows? I'm going for the flow this week. Lots of love. Bye.